Hi guys, it's Krista from Playing with a Purpose, and today I'm going to share with you 10 tips of how to feed your daycare children healthy. If you're new here, my name is Krista and I'm a childcare provider for up to 5 children, and on my channel you'll find tips and tricks, all things related to childcare, shopping hauls, and the odd family vlog. Serving healthy food also can be very expensive, so my number one tip is grow your own food. Even if you only have a small property, grow some of those vegetables that you're going to be serving often. My daycare group eat a ton of cherry tomatoes, so I love to have lots of cherry tomatoes growing on my deck, and cucumbers and all those kind of things that you're going to be serving often. Try to grow those in your garden. I'm really fortunate that my husband loves to garden, and so we actually have our own greenhouse, and this year we're going to be able to find out how long we can go into the winter using a greenhouse. Growing your own food is definitely one of the top tips for serving healthy food in your daycare. My second tip is buy your food in season. When things are naturally on sale, that's the time that you want to purchase it. You don't want to be buying watermelon in the middle of winter because it's going to cost you an arm and a leg. And so really try to capitalize on the food that's in season. Try to make your menus kind of around the seasonal vegetables. My third tip is to grow a garden with your daycare children. This is something that I've done over the last 5 or 6 years, and my daycare children absolutely love to plant it, take care of it, eat from it. This not only helps your children learn how vegetables grow, it also helps them feel more invested into eating the vegetables because they've planted it and they've taken care of it, and so it just helps develop those natural responses to want to eat what they've grown. Again, if you only have a small amount of space, you can do container gardening with your daycare children just to have them understand the concept. Definitely cherry tomatoes is one of my favorite things to grow with the children. So another idea is to cook with them. So that means you get them involved in preparing the food, cooking the food, ask them what kind of foods they want to eat. If they're involved in the process, they're much more inclined to eat the food that is served. The next tip is to serve lots of choice. So on a plate, you want to be able to provide them with more than just one item. So for example, if you're having spaghetti, you might have a few cucumbers on the side and a breadstick or two. That way there's lots of choice on their plate. That way they don't feel intimidated by what's on their plate. They can start eating something that they do enjoy eating. The next tip I have for you is know your children's appetite and their likes and dislikes. It would be extremely overwhelming for a child to receive a plate in front of them that's way more food than they're used to eating, and if it's full of things that they don't like. So again, it's really important to give a variety of food, but also if it's a new food that you're not sure if they're going to like, start small. So when I say small, if it's something new, give 2 tablespoons of food just to get them started. When they see the plate, they don't feel overwhelmed and they're more inclined to try it. After you've introduced this food many times, often they start to enjoy the food and you can adjust the serving size. This is also a topic of conversation that I like to have in my daycare interviews because I think it's really important for children to try food. Sometimes they don't like it the first time, second time, third time, but once they've had it several times, often they start to enjoy those new foods. And so it's just something that I like to discuss during an interview to make sure that we both share the same philosophy, because it can be super confusing to children if they have different rules at home regarding food. Personally, my expectation is for children to just try the food, and often over a period of a few days of trying the same food, they will start to enjoy it and want to increase the portion size. I also try to have extras of what we're eating on a tray so that if the children are finished eating and they want to have more, they're welcome to ask for more. This gives the children more control over their food choices. And so if they don't want to eat anymore, it feels less overwhelming because there's a small portion on their plate. But if they do enjoy the food, they're always able to ask for more. So this is just a great way to give the children more control over their food. The next tip I have for you is to prep your fruit and vegetables ahead of time. So what I like to do is when I get home from grocery shopping, I go ahead and wash and cut up the vegetables and fruit so that it's all ready for me during the week. And these containers are amazing. And I highly recommend using these type of containers. They really, really increase the life of your fruit and vegetables. They easily stay good in these containers for up to 2 weeks. So I highly, highly recommend getting these. The next tip I have is make everything from scratch. I know it takes a little bit more work, but this way you can control the ingredients that you're putting into your food. And this makes a really significant difference on the quality of your food. For example, if you're making a muffin, either store-bought or from a muffin mix, you're definitely gonna have a lot more sugar in it. But if you're making them yourself, you can easily sweeten it with maple syrup or honey or even banana. Another ingredient is if you were making peanut butter cookies. I like to buy the natural peanut butter with no added sugar. Also, cocoa powder. These are all ingredients that are just so much better for us. Everything that you make homemade, it's so much better for you because you're able to control the ingredients that you put in. Another tip I have for you is always double or triple even your recipes. This way you can freeze a bunch and have some for another day. I like to buy a bunch of these containers ahead of time. So now I have a whole bunch of extra hot meals ready to go on those cold winter days. I wanted to use up some of our food from the freezer from our gardens, and we have our own chickens, and so I also have eggs. And so I made these broccoli red pepper mini quiches, and again, I just pop them in the freezer and they're ready to go. Soup is always on the menu in the winter here, and so I always like to have several different types of soups in my freezer. I usually serve soup at least twice a week here in the winter. So right now I have a beef barley soup, broccoli soup, and turkey soup. Notice that I freeze them in big chunks, and so what I usually do is I take a few yogurt containers and I put them in the freezer, I let them freeze, and then I pop them out and put them into a Ziploc bag and label it. So now I have several meals all ready to go, and the children are able to eat healthy and not from a can. And one of my last tips is something that not everybody may be able to follow. I'm not sure what your rules are regarding food. Maybe you have to submit a menu somewhere. For me personally, I don't have to do that, but I don't like to make a menu specifically each week because I want to see what's going to be on sale for the week, and I want to utilize my leftovers. So my last tip is utilizing leftovers. I find there's a lot of waste when we don't use all the food that we have. Often you have a little bit of leftovers stuck in the back of your fridge and you end up just throwing it out. For example, a few weeks ago, my family had stuffed squash for dinner and we had a lot of the meat mixture left over. So I was able to create a simple casserole for the daycare children using the leftover meat. And so definitely think about how you can always utilize your leftovers so that you're not wasting good food. I hope these tips were helpful for you. I'm Krista with Playing with a Purpose. I'll see you next time.